Let's be clear. Most men have no idea how powerful it is to ignore a woman. And not because they're soft or spineless, but because they've been programmed to believe that the more available, expressive, and emotionally present they are, the more a woman will want to stay. But in today's world, that logic doesn't hold up, because in this age of non-stop attention, availability gets confused with desperation. And desperation, it destroys attraction faster than you think. Think about it. We're living in a time where women are flooded with validation likes, comments, DMs, flirty texts, and empty praise. It's constant. So when you're just another guy replying fast, always there, always giving, you blend into the noise. You become invisible. Now, here's where the game flips. When you learn how to use silence, distance, and calculated absence, everything shifts. Because ignoring a woman isn't about being immature or cruel. It's about having emotional discipline. It's about choosing power over neediness. About understanding that less reaction often creates more impact. You see, when you stop being so available, when you step back with confidence, she doesn't just notice your silence, she feels it. She starts to realize something she hadn't before, that your attention is valuable. It's not free. It must be earned. And when that happens, something remarkable occurs. The script flips. You're no longer chasing her attention. She starts to chase your presence. She starts to wonder about the man who isn't desperate to be seen. You become a mystery, and mystery creates magnetism. In a world full of men, trying too hard, saying too much, giving too fast. The man who knows when to hold back. The man who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, becomes unforgettable. So if you're tired of being overlooked, tired of being the predictable nice guy who gets nothing in return, if you're ready to reclaim your strength and stop being emotionally available to everyone, this message is for you. Because today, we're going to break down the hidden power behind strategic silence. We're going to unpack the dark psychology of ignoring a woman, not to manipulate her, but to reverse the emotional imbalance that's been stacked against men for far too long. And by the end of this video, you'll understand one thing. You never needed to say more. You just needed to mean less and stand more in your silence. 1. Why ignoring works. Let's talk about human nature. People don't chase what's always within reach. We chase what feels scarce, unpredictable, and emotionally meaningful. That's how desire is built, not through ease, but through uncertainty. When a woman feels she has full access to you, that she can reach you anytime, you stop feeling urgent in her mind. She might still like you, she might care, but the fire of desire starts to fade because there's no effort left, and without effort, attraction dies. Now, think about today's reality. Modern women are constantly noticed. They're complimented, chased, admired. It's not special anymore. It's routine. So when you show up trying to impress her with long messages, constant attention, or validation, on demand, you don't stand out. You just become another background noise, easy to forget, easier to ignore. But when you step back, when you go quiet and withdraw your energy, you interrupt her emotional rhythm. She pauses. She wonders, what's different about him? And in that moment, you create tension, not confusion, tension. And that tension is the spark of real attraction. Too many men confuse ignoring with being rude or distant. But this isn't about being cold or cruel. This is about creating space. Space where she can miss you. Space where she can feel what life is like without you always there. And in that space, she begins to associate your absence with meaning. Not silence for punishment, but silence that carries weight. Now, here's the catch. This only works if your absence actually means something. If you've been needy, clingy, or constantly seeking approval, pulling away won't help. She's already tuned you out. That's why timing is critical. You must pull back before she fully disconnects. Before she gets bored, you have to withdraw while your presence still holds value. And how do you make her feel that loss? By showing her without words that your worth exists with or without her. You're not retreating out of bitterness. You're not going silent for revenge. You're doing it from strength, from a place of grounded, calm confidence. And that hits differently. She doesn't just notice the change, she feels it. It shakes her sense of control. And soon, she starts asking the question, did I lose him? That question is where everything changes. Because now the emotional dynamic has flipped. You're no longer chasing, she starts moving toward you. Your silence, used wisely, becomes the loudest voice in the room. 2. Pulling back to regain control. Every man, at some point, feels it. That subtle shift. Her texts get shorter. Her tone becomes colder. The warmth she once had, it's fading. And that's where most men make a critical mistake. They panic. They try harder. They overtext, over-explain, overcompensate. They double their efforts, hoping to bring her back. But what they don't realize is, chasing her when she's pulling away only pushes her further. The truth is simple but hard to accept. When you feel her slipping, the right move isn't to fight harder, it's to step back, to pull away with purpose. That's how you regain control. Not by force, not by pleading, but by choosing to stop pouring energy into someone who's treating you like an option. Pulling back isn't weakness. It's not surrender. It's an act of emotional strength. It's the moment you reclaim your dignity and say, I don't need to prove myself to someone who's unsure of me. Because here's something most men forget. Women respond to energy, not explanations. If your energy says, I need you, I can't function without you, she'll feel that desperation, and it repels her. But if your energy says, I'm grounded, I'm at peace with or without you, everything changes. The modern man has become too reactive. One cold reply, and he spirals. One unanswered text, and he doubts himself. But when you master the art of pulling back, you stop letting her moods define your worth. You stop being a slave to validation. You stop chasing clarity she never promised. And you begin to reclaim something you forgot you had: your center. When you pull back, you create space. And in that space, two things happen. One, she has time to miss you, to notice your absence, to ask herself questions. Two, you get to see her clearly. Is she really invested, or was she just enjoying your attention? Is she bringing peace to your life, or quietly draining it? That's clarity. And it only comes when you stop reacting emotionally and start thinking rationally. So, what does pulling back look like in practice? It's not ghosting. It's not cold revenge. It's strategic detachment. You reduce your effort. You stop initiating. You stop forcing conversation. You recenter on your mission, your life, your purpose. your peace. You don't announce it. You just move differently, silently, confidently. And yes, she will notice. One of two things will happen. She will either step up, reach out, and put in effort, or she will fade. And if she fades, good, because you've just been spared from investing more in someone who wasn't really there. But if she returns with effort, now the dynamic has shifted. You're not chasing, you're leading. You've shown her that your presence isn't guaranteed, it's earned. Pulling back isn't about playing games. It's about protecting your value. It's about remembering who you are before someone else made you question it. And when you do that, the control you thought you lost, it returns. Quietly, without noise, without begging, and without a single wasted word. 3. The shift in power. Power in a relationship isn't about who talks the most, who makes the rules, or who appears stronger on the outside. It's much quieter, more deeper. True power comes from detachment, from being the one who's willing to walk away. And that's where most men lose it. They think being all in all the time earns loyalty, but in reality, it often surrenders control. When you constantly chase, constantly react, constantly try to fix the distance, you hand her the power, you let her dictate the rhythm, and before you realize it, you're no longer leading the relationship, you're just following her moods. She pulls away, you chase harder. She gives less, you offer more. And just like that, you've shifted the dynamic. She's in the driver's seat, and you're trying to prove your worth. That's when attraction fades, not because you aren't good enough, but because you gave away your edge. Respect dies when a man becomes emotionally predictable, when you're always available, always explaining, always trying. You lose mystery. You lose value. But the shift begins when you stop playing her game, when you stop dancing to her emotional tune, when you stop responding instantly to every cold message or delayed reply. Silence becomes your power, not because it's a tactic, but because it shows you no longer seek permission to be valued. You remove your energy. You pose your effort. And in that pause, everything changes. She starts noticing you again, not because you begged, not because you impressed her, but because you disappeared from the space she once took for granted. You become unpredictable, unreachable, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. That's what rattles her. She's used to men chasing her validation. She's used to being the center of control. But when you become the man who doesn't chase, the man who doesn't crumble at her silence, the man who can walk away with calm dignity that confidence shakes her, it disrupts the power balance she thought she controlled. This isn't about domination. This isn't about manipulation. It's about remembering who you are. When you stop fearing her withdrawal, you stop living in scarcity. You stop trying to manage her feelings and start managing your own. And that's attractive. Not the loud kind of attraction, but the kind that stirs something deep in her. Certainty without desperation. Presence without pressure. That's the energy women respond to. Here's what most men forget. Power isn't taken, it's given away. Every time you seek her validation, every time you make her the center of your emotional decisions, you hand over your power without even noticing. But when you shift your focus back to your mission, back to your purpose, back to your emotional discipline, you regain it. Silently, steadily, and she feels it. She starts texting first. She starts investing. She respects your time, your silence, your presence, because now she knows She's no longer dealing with a man she can control. She's facing a man who leads with presence, not need. And that, my friend, is irresistible. 4. Triggering her curiosity. Curiosity is one of the most powerful emotional triggers in human behavior. It's what makes us chase things we don't fully understand. And when it comes to women and attraction, curiosity isn't just a feeling, it's leverage. The moment a woman starts wondering what's going on in your head, why you're not reacting, why you didn't text back, you've already shifted the emotional balance in your favor. Most men think attraction is built through constant interaction chats, compliments, gifts, validation. But that's a misunderstanding of human psychology. Attraction isn't built on certainty. It thrives in the unknown. And that's exactly where ignoring, when done with intention, changes everything. You see, ignoring a woman isn't about being cold or cruel. It's not about trying to punish her. It's about creating emotional space for her to start wondering, why has he gone quiet? Did I say something wrong? Was I not enough for him to keep chasing? That mental loop is where attraction starts to grow. Because women aren't obsessed with what's obvious, they're intrigued by what they can't figure out. Mystery fuels curiosity, and curiosity drives emotional investment. But here's the problem. Most men kill curiosity before it even has a chance to spark. They overshare. They explain everything. They respond instantly. They confess feelings before the woman has even decided if she's emotionally invested. And just like that, the mystery dies. She puts you in the two available box. No challenge, no tension, no desire to explore you further. But when you withhold just enough, when you don't play all your cards in the first few rounds, you create a gap. And that gap becomes fertile ground for attraction. She starts thinking about you even when she doesn't want to. She replays your last message. She reads into your silence. She wonders, why hasn't he called? Was he really confident or just detached? That wondering creates energy. And energy is everything in attraction. See, most men think the way to stand out is to do more. But sometimes, doing less with purpose makes a louder impact. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to post something to get her attention. You simply need to stay grounded and composed. Let her feel the silence. Let her sit in it. Let her wonder. Because the more she thinks, the more connected she becomes. Not because you forced it, but because her own mind pulled her in. Curiosity does what? No speech, no compliment, no strategy can do. It bypasses logic and taps straight into emotion. And when a woman is emotionally engaged, she's no longer in control. Not in the way she was before. She might act indifferent. She might try to play it cool. But behind that mask, she's thinking about you. And that thought grows the longer you maintain your presence without overexposing yourself. The trick is this: don't create confusion. Create intrigue. Confusion frustrates, but curiosity pulls. So instead of being the man who gives everything away too fast, be the man who knows how to hold back with purpose. Let her come to you. Let her chase clarity. Because when she's chasing answers, she's not walking away. She's leaning in. And when a woman is leaning in mentally, emotionally, energetically, that's when you become unforgettable. 5. When she starts chasing. There's a rare and powerful moment in a man's life when the woman who once acted cold, distant, or indifferent suddenly starts chasing him. It's not luck. It's not random. It's the direct result of reclaiming your energy, your presence, and your silence. You stopped chasing. You stopped begging. You stopped giving her the validation she didn't earn. And in that space, she felt your absence. That's what created the hunger. Not your words, not your constant effort, but the void you left behind. See, women don't chase men who are always available. They don't pursue men who give everything away for nothing. They pursue what feels valuable, what feels rare. When you become the man who no longer needs her attention to feel whole, you become something she's not used to. You become a mystery, unreadable, unshaken, and unavailable unless it's on your terms. And that shift rattles her. At first, it's subtle. She starts texting more. She brings up old conversations out of nowhere. She replies to your stories that she used to ignore. She accidentally likes an old photo. These are not coincidences. They're signals. They're her way of checking the temperature, seeing if you'll take the bait. But here's where most men fall. The moment they see her engaging again, they lose all composure. They flood her inbox. They get excited. They rush back in with full energy. And just like that, she pulls away again. Why? Because now she knows she's got you. No more tension. No more mystery. The dance is over. If you want to maintain the shift, you have to stay in control. When she chases, don't fall over yourself to reward her. Acknowledge her effort, but stay composed. Keep your emotional distance. Let her earn her way back. Don't make her the prize just because she noticed your silence. You are the prize, and she's only now starting to remember that. Each time she reaches out, it's a test. Will you break frame? Will you give her everything again just because she blinked in your direction? Or will you hold the line? You see, when a woman truly values a man, she doesn't stop at breadcrumbs. She invests. She becomes consistent. She works for your presence. That's when you know it's real. Not because she missed you, but because she's proving it through action. And if she doesn't, if she fades when you don't jump, good. She was never serious. This phase, when she begins to chase, is not about dominance. It's about alignment. You've shifted the emotional balance. Now she's leaning in. Now you decide the pace. Now you set the standard. A high-value man doesn't react to every signal. He doesn't give himself away to every opportunity. He observes. He measures. He leads from clarity, not craving. That's what separates a man who gets played from a man she never forgets. 6. Staying silent with confidence. There's a kind of silence that doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't scream to be noticed, but it gets heard loudly. That's the kind of silence a grounded man carries. Silence, when used with calm confidence, becomes a weapon, a signal, a message that says, I'm not desperate. I don't chase validation. And most importantly, I'm in control. C. Weak silence is born from fear. It's the kind of silence that gets ignored, dismissed, forgotten, but confident silence, it makes her lean in. It creates tension in all the right ways. It doesn't just create distance, it forces her to feel it. When a man goes quiet, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, he flips the energy. Suddenly, she's no longer in control of the emotional tempo. You are, and that's the difference. In today's world, most men are loud with their attention. They text too much, explain too much, reveal too much, too soon. They treat silence like a void to be filled. But the Stoic man knows better. He doesn't speak to be heard. He speaks when necessary. And when he's silent, it's because his energy is sacred. Let's be real, silence can feel uncomfortable, especially when you've been conditioned to think that communication equals connection. But not all communication builds attraction. In fact, too much of it, especially when it's one-sided, kills it. When you chase, explain, or over-text, you hand over the emotional leverage. But when you say nothing, you reclaim it. Confident silence is not ghosting. It's not the act of disappearing just to play games. It's detachment with purpose. It's the inner knowing that not everything deserves a response, especially low effort, drama, or manipulation. You don't reward laziness with attention. You don't trade your peace for someone else's chaos. Instead, you withdraw not to punish her, but to protect your value. And when you do that, something powerful happens. Your absence becomes loud. She starts to feel the space you used to fill. She begins to replay your last interaction. She questions herself. She feels uncertain. And that emotional dissonance is what keeps you in her mind. Remember this, she may not message you. She may not like your post. But she's watching. She's thinking. She's wondering why the man who used to show up no longer does war. That's the power of silence. It disturbs her rhythm. It flips the script. But here's the real secret. While she's refreshing her messages, you're in the gym. You're building. You're focused on your goals. You're becoming sharper, stronger, more dangerous. That contrast is what makes her crave your presence again. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. Too many men rush back the second she shows signs of interest. Don't be that man. Be the man who lets her sit in the discomfort. Let her come to terms with losing access to you. When you hold silence with dignity, you become unforgettable. You become the man who's not easily rattled. You become the man who doesn't chase chaos. So next time you feel the urge to explain, to react, or to beg for clarity, don't. Let your silence speak. Let it whisper the truth. You were the prize all along. 7. Using ignorance selectively. Ignoring a woman isn't about being cold. It's not about playing games. And it's definitely not a full-time strategy. It's a tool, a sharp psychological weapon, but like any weapon, it only works when used with precision. Too many men fall into extremes. They either give a woman all their time, energy, and attention, chasing, explaining, justifying until they're completely drained, or they swing the other way, shutting down emotionally, ghosting every woman they meet, calling it alpha, when in reality, it's fear in disguise. Neither works. What works is balance. What works is knowing when to step back and why you're doing it. That's selective silence. It's not about punishing her. It's about protecting your peace. You pull back not because you're angry, but because your boundaries are being tested. Let's say she gives you attitude. She's pulling away. Her effort drops. Instead of arguing, pleading, or asking what's wrong, you simply go quiet. Not in weakness, not in fear, but from calm strength. You remove your energy. You don't chase. You let the distance do the talking. That space creates reflection not just for her, but for you too. And here's the twist. This silence isn't for every moment. If she's opening up, being vulnerable, showing care, don't ignore her. That's not strength. That's coldness, and coldness kills connection. Selective silence is emotional intelligence in motion. It's knowing that sometimes your words won't fix the problem, but your absence might highlight it. When you stop rewarding bad behavior with your time, you teach her something. You remind her of your value. Now watch closely. If she respects you, she'll step up. She'll meet you halfway. But if she was only in it for attention, she'll fade. And that's your answer, not because you asked, but because you watched. In silence. You also use this tactic when she starts chasing again. She's texting more, asking where you've been, liking your photos, watching your stories. This is where most men fail. The moment she comes back, they dive in. They go from composed to desperate, flooding her with messages, validation, and emotional availability. And just like that, she pulls back again. Because the mystery died, the power flipped. She no longer has to work for you. That's why selective silence isn't just about pulling back, it's about holding the line. Even when she returns. Don't immediately drop your guard. Don't give her everything she used to take for granted. Make her earn it. Let her prove her consistency, not just her momentary interest. This doesn't mean playing hard to get. It means being hard to forget. You become the man who doesn't overreact, who doesn't beg for energy, who stays focused on purpose while others chase attention. That kind of man rare. And in dating, women don't chase the common. They chase what feels earned, grounded, and emotionally secure. Selective silence is not rejection. It's redirection. You're not shutting her out. You're centering yourself. You're not ignoring to manipulate. You're stepping back to observe. Because sometimes, the greatest shift in power doesn't come from confrontation, but from quiet distance. Let her feel it. Let her miss you. Let her realize what your energy used to bring into her world. And most importantly, let her work for your return. In a world full of noise, where most men overtalk and overchase, your silence becomes your strength. But don't forget timing, confidence, and intention are everything. When you pull back without fear, when you stay silent, not out of anger, but out of control, that's when your value speaks the loudest. It's not about being cold. It's about being composed. It's not about playing games. It's about knowing your worth. Most men never learn this. They beg. They chase. They explain. But the ones who stand out, the unforgettable men, are the ones who choose peace over pressure, clarity over chaos, and presence over performance. If this message hit home, take a second to reflect. And if you're ready to live with more strength, discipline, and quiet power, then support this channel by hitting like, subscribing, and sharing this video with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. I choose silence over chaos. Thank you for watching. Stay grounded, stay stoic, and I'll see you in the next video.